Hello, everyone, and welcome to the first edition of Team Wars Talks for Season 9. So, for this week, we have a couple of familiar faces as well as new faces from this new season, and let's present them a bit, starting with Lotso, if he's around, but I'm
Yeah, I'm
on.
here. I forgot to say.
Hello. So Lotso, as you all
What-
know, has been a part of APK for a long time, haven't you?
This is my fifth season, I think. So yeah, quite a while.
That's good to know. And afterwards, we have Dragon, which I believe is from Fallen Angels, a new team, even the owner. Tell us more about
Yes.
that.
Like how like the team formed or just like overall?
You can tell us a bit about the story of the team if you want.
Oh, so it's actually pretty funny because um, I've always had like a rocky start of like joining Team Wars teams. Like yeah, I have good results, but like a lot of it doesn't translate over well with like KC Cup and stuff. So like me and my close friend in the community, Darcy, we were like, how about we just start our own team? And that's what we did. And we like picked up a bunch of people that we were either super close with within the community, old teammates, which is why we have like Mugiwara, Hisoka, Kodai, because I was on the Immortals for a very short stint. And yeah, and picked up a couple people that were, and we picked up Insano because he was coming out of retirement. I was like, hey, let's pick him up.
It's a
So,
pretty
yeah.
nice up and coming story, I suppose. After having picked a couple of members from here and there from disbanded teams, and yeah, hope you guys will have a fruitful season to come.
Yeah, we're starting off pretty decent, I should say. But,
We will see about that later. For now, we also have Drizzles joining us.
Hello.
As you all know, has been a part of Diffusion's, I believe, championship roster as well as their owner. Currently a free agent. And then next off, we have Negative1 from Tier 0.
Hey, it was good. Thanks for having me.
A man of no words, because everyone knows him already. And last but not least, we have Mystic from Banana Rampage.
Yeah, hello everyone. I'm Mystic, coach and player from Banana Rampage.
Banana Rampage, as most of you know, have taken a bit of a break last season, I believe.
Yes, last season. We're returning now.
Yeah, they're back for more. And I believe that would be it for the introductions. We can start with the match report.
Quickly say something, Hazy. You still have to ping at live.
I know.
That's what Cerex is saying.
Oh, just as you said that, it already came.
Yeah, did it. This man's everywhere.
Yeah. Well, it was just in time, I suppose.
Gotta love Taha.
Maybe just for a small second. Okay, sorry about that. Now we have the match reports on the screen. So in the channel, you have the exact order that the match reports will be presented. So first off, we will start with the Tier 0 game. So that would be yours, Neg1. Tell us more about how this game went, because 10-4 in the first week, coming into a new meta with the ban list and stuff, especially such an unannounced ban list. You had only like one and a half day to prepare. Tell us more about how terrific streak went.
Well, for our ban list, Keezy is pretty good at testing, and for those that don't know, Chris is pretty degen, so he just tested a boatload after the banlist strat. Well, not to say he was the only one testing, but he very much aggressively pushed everyone to test. So we got a lot of testing done. We had some ideas on what we thought would be good in the meta and like what we think will be good. And I think here we showed like 4, I don't want to say non-meta decks, but like 4 decks outside of like what's kind of considered, I guess, the top 3. Like you would say Water, Animat, and Thunder Dragons were the 3 decks people were looking at immediately after the ban list. And I guess here we barely used them. We used Water once and it didn't turn out so well, but yeah, I think Neos is improved. I'm not sure how good it is. I think a lot of these games could have been losses if they perhaps played differently, but yeah, kept winning, so we'll take it.
Yeah, I can see. As you said, only one of the top 3 decks were used in Water Exceeds from Terrific, which was his second, after having straight for 7 wins with Invoke Neos. You are off to a relatively okay start as well with the Triamids, and the Fire Kings didn't perform. But yeah, it was a pretty good result nonetheless. 10-4 first week. That's pretty good. Okay, so now we will have the XO against Fallen Angels. That would be Dragon's match, which he also participated in and got quite a few wins. So tell us more about not only your streak, but maybe Yusef's streak as well as perhaps the opponent's way to try to combat your decks.
So when the ban list hit, we were like the list that we had for like all like the decks that we were gonna play for this week, they didn't really change much. We actually only had to change about like 2 to 3 decks and move some things around. So like our lineup did not really change, did not get like hurt that much, thankfully. But it was still like, okay, what are they gonna bring? You know, because we were gonna expect like a lot of like dark lords. So my match is like the Thunder Dragon game was pretty decent. Like I didn't really open up really too well at the second game. The first game was pretty decent. Where I beat Invoked.
Yeah,
And
it
then,
was Invoke Neos.
Yeah, and then the Cyber Dragon, I don't want to comment on that because I already had to, because oh man, I know
Okay.
I could have played way better than that. I was trash. I was in the VC with Yusef and Darcio the entire time for his games, and we're just like going over like everything that we could have possibly like thought of. Like we even tested like hardcore like within like the last 2 hours before the match even started, just so we can get every play right for him, because like he wasn't even going to play on the mats. But we were just like, well, we need an automat player, and he was like, okay.
Yeah, just doing as he's told, and it ended up being a pretty good decision considering it managed to close out the match against 1 Cyber Dragon deck and 3 Water Exceeds decks. So 4-0 as the closer, 3-10. That's a pretty good scoreline for a first week match in your first season.
Oh, most definitely. It felt really good after that. So after like I was able to breathe a sigh of relief, I was just like, thank God.
At least you'll keep that in mind for week 2 and the weeks to come.
Yeah, most definitely.
All right then. So now we will have the BZ versus Banana Rampage game. Another game which ended with a big upset, we could be saying. And a 5-10 scoreline from Banana Rampage is certainly nothing to laugh at. So we can see, Mystic, that Luis managed to have a pretty good early streak, and Hater as well was able to close it out pretty well. So what were your thoughts going up against BZ out of all teams in your first match back into the league?
Well, we are really excited about this match because, in our opinion, BZ was probably our hardest opponent. So we prepared a lot, and basically, after the ban list, we had to throw our lineup in the trash and start over again, since a lot of our decks had got hit by the ban list. So basically, me and Bruno, while discussing the possible lineup for this match, in our opinion, the three best decks would be Onomats, Thunder Dragons, and Waters. So we basically built our lineup around these three decks. Of course, we also used some other decks as counter picks, which is really useful in Team Wars, like Cyber Dragons. Now talking a little bit about the match, Luis, as you said, has a good opening, especially with his Thunder Dragons. That put us in a good advantage for the whole match. Also, Sasuke take two decks with his water, but then Doctor came with his Luna Light, and to be honest, we didn't expect Luna. So unfortunately, he took both water and Onomas from Sasuke. But we have Aether with his Cyber Dragons. That is a good and pretty decent deck against Luna Lights. And yeah, then he just finished out with his water, beating Fire Kings and both TDs.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I can see that. So you said you didn't really expect Luna Lights, but have you also perhaps expected Blue Eyes?
Yeah, we expected, because it's okay deck. We don't bring it in because in our opinion, we had better options. But yes, we thought they could bring it.
Nice. Okay, so that's a really good win actually, considering
Yeah,
BZ was, I believe, top 4, top 8 last season, and
yeah,
has always consistently been performing well. So
yes.
yeah. Okay, we can go over to the next match report. I believe the last one from the ones who are currently in the voice that are also part of the team. It will be Abusement Park versus Rafflesia ID. So Rafflesia ID is another returning team, just like Banana Rampage was, after one season of inactivity. And APK was their first opponent, Abusement Park. And Lotso over here was their starter in that match. We can see a lot of, let's say, one-sided at first for APK, then Refuge ID, and then back to APK, and that will be the closer. Tell us more about your mindset going into this match with the Luna Lights opening, and then the Triamids closer.
Well, it's been mentioned already that like after Banlist, the three most popular decks would be Thunders, Onomats, and Water. So ASAP actually came up with the idea to bring Luna Lights, because I mean it has a good matchup against Onomats if they don't play Swordbreaker or now the Fairy King or Helio, which most don't. I'm assuming they will now. And it has a good matchup against Water unless they open really well. And if you draw Veil, it can also beat Thunders fairly easily, especially if they get impatient. To be fair, like this is a bit like not realistic, because the Sidra player from Reflexia should have beaten the Luna like deck in the third game there. So we got lucky with the time limit, and then I mean he could also have won the fourth game. So we got fairly lucky there. But I mean, not gonna complain. We take that. But yeah, that's the idea.
Cyber Dragon this weekend.
Yeah. But that was the idea behind Luna Lights. Like we were expecting them to open a combo consisting of those 3 decks, and we were like, we can steal the opening if we bring Luna Lights, and we draw pretty well, which we did. Like the first 2 games were really smooth. And then, I mean, I lost both decks to Triumphs. It was risky to put Onomats at the back, but we thought we could steal a lot of games with it. And then, like, yeah, we didn't actually win a single game with the 3X that I mentioned, like with Blue Eyes and then Triumphs. And Triumphs also really good now, to be fair. But yeah, we expected Water, Onomats, and Thunders to be the most popular. And if you look at their lineup, and a lot of it is those decks.
Yeah, I can see that. And with a couple of counter decks, such as their Cyber Dragon, who, as you said, was not able to counter your Luna Lights, and I believe that was the deciding point of the match. And it was only 3 wins with another, let's say, not as expected deck as far as the top 3 is concerned, with Trimids that managed to give them a few wins. But not only them, also yours with ASAP's closer of Trimids.
Yeah.
I can also see Blue Eyes being another pretty good pick there from you.
Yeah, that was a tough game because we lost the first one pretty hard. Like, I think they bricked a bit or something. I don't remember the game exactly, but it looked pretty bad. And then the second game was like a really long one that he clutched out, and then he took 2 more, which was good for us because otherwise they could have come back. I think, like if they beat the Blue Eyes deck there, it's 4-4, and then it's entirely different. So yeah, it went well for us basically. Yeah.
Yeah, for a week 1 match is pretty good, I would say, to have the early 6 RD.
We're happy. Yeah.
Definitely. All right then. Let's. That should be it with the match reports that are currently part of the teams within the voice chat, but we still have a couple more that I would like to talk about with Drizzles, maybe. So the opening match of this season was actually the X Factors versus Sensei one. Sensei being a new team there. Sensei, as some people know, are basically, well, not basically, but a couple of their members have played previously. I think the most familiar face is Galv, which was a Forbidden Memories member, but there's also a couple of 12 O'Clock Cheaters members, most notably Alacorn, who was their owner and the second ever person to go 10-0 in a match with Shiranui's. And we already see that another quote-unquote upset happened with Sensei winning 10-6 against X Factors, who were at one point finalists of a season in their opening season. What could you did you watch the game, Drizzles?
Yeah, I was watching the game right before Brooks against Premier Monarchs happened.
Okay, so what could you say about Sensei's lineup, perhaps? As a new team going into this season, you would expect a lot of counter rather anti-stratting. You know, you try to study your opponents as much as possible and have this advantage of like the honeymoon period where no one really knows anything about you, and you can play other decks that you would normally your opponent would not normally expect of you, such as the Black Wings there. What can you say about perhaps their choice of opening with Cyber Dragons? What could you say, what their mindset was?
I think you have to keep in mind that it was like the very first game after the banlist, who just appeared like a few hours the same day.
Yeah.
And it was like kind of risky from them to use Cyber Dragon as an opener. But I think the main reason why Sensei won was the deck choices of X Factors using the Malefic Blue Eyes Light Barrier skill. And I think that kind of broke their neck. Even though they won a game at the start with it, I don't know, it kind of paid off them that they started Cyber Dragon having not a super terrible matchup there. But yeah, I think their startup was kind of lucky with going in there with Cyber Dragon, even though you could have faced like a lot of worse matchups, and normally Cyber Dragon is rather like a counter pick to something like Lunar Light or even Water. But yeah, here it worked out to take out the Blue Eyes, the Water, and bring the Fire King into a repeat situation. And yeah, then they had a bit of the advantage. Using Blackwing was, I think, alright. I mean, it was the second deck, so didn't really expect it to go into Fire Kings. And after that, they had kind of standard decks, and X Factors didn't really found the good answers anymore.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I believe the Malefic Blue Eyes iteration was really popular from the Eastern teams in this first week.
Yeah.
What can you tell us more
Yeah.
about that, Lotso?
I don't like the deck. I think it sucks. As you can see by the results, I think they went like 2-12 with it or something. Like
Yeah.
over the entire league, it's like garbage.
Yeah, it performed really bad. That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I saw a lot of matches this week because you know, as the broadcasting manager, I have to make sure everything is good, as well as a referee. I have to watch the matches, and each time I saw this deck on the screen, I don't think I have seen it win once. And that's the bad part about it, because if I believe in the tier 0 match as well as the abusement part match, the normal build of Blue Eyes was actually used to get a couple of wins, like 2-0 and 3-1, I believe, from respectively. I really don't know what would make the Malefic one better than the normal one, but we can give the benefit of the doubt, considering that the ban list came, I believe, 9 hours earlier before this match. So yeah.
They brought
But to be
deck
fair, like they
Sunday
could have
as
just
well.
they could have just done Ultimate Dragons and just been fine if they wanted.
I mean,
otherwise.
there was one of these games, because I watched this match as well, where if he played Ultimate Dragons, he would have won, but he didn't. So
Yep.
he was like, "I can't do shit. Let's lose the game." But then, like Claw Clan brought Lab Builder Blue Eyes, which is like,
we'll see
I
that
mean,
later as well.
at least your spirit will be in the deck, I guess.
Yeah, but I mean, at least that deck got a win, and
Yeah.
that was the only win of that team.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But like we had a few situations, especially in like the first 2 games, where Cyber Dragon just used like a Cosmic Cyclone or used like a pop effect of Cyber Dragon cards to destroy the field spell, and then the Malefic Blue Eyes goes 0 later into the graveyard, and it does like legit nothing.
Mm.
And I think they played a few more breaks. Like I saw some Chaos Dragon Levianeer as well in that deck.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah, that's a bit weird, but let's just hope X Factors can recover from that. Let's see what the next match report is. Okay, yeah, we have another new team with another returning team from last season, Infinity. Yu-Gi-Oh! Game Life. Oh, thank you so much for the raid, Whirlwind. 40 people coming into the Team Wars Talks. For whoever is new, Team Wars Talks is a weekly show / podcast where one host gathers a couple of guests that either have performed well within their team's match or have been there a couple of times and already know what the drill is. Currently, we're on the topic of match reports. We have already discussed the team match reports, and now we're just leaning towards newer teams so that everyone can get to know more about them. All right, in this match, Yu-Gi-Oh! Game Life, being the new team, as mentioned earlier, has that honeymoon period advantage in Team Wars. However, it did not turn into a win. It was a pretty close affair, but in the beginning, they didn't really get accustomed to the Team Wars rules. I was the referee of that match, and yeah, it didn't turn out pretty well in the beginning, but we did see Dark Lords come out from them. Regular Dark Lords, not stick and chair Dark Lords. Negative1, can you tell us more about what you think about Dark Lords coming into week 1 right after the ban list was announced?
Dark Lords was one of the decks where I'm not so sure. Like, because there were so many things to test, you can't test everything. And Dark Lords is something that we have interest in, but we didn't look too in depth this past week, so I can't say for certain how good it will be. It still has a lot of the same tools, but I can't say for sure if it's. I don't think it's the same with as it was with See You Later, but it could still be a meta strategy.
Right. And as we'll see later on when we discuss the meta analysis, it was indeed I believe the least used deck, that being Dark Lords, not without the Star Seraph engine. And I guess it did do its job managing to counter the Luna Light deck, the only one sent from Infinity. There's other deck choices from Infinity that you could say are not really questionable, but maybe more rogue. Luna Lights, as mentioned earlier, was a pretty sleeper pick, and as we will see later, it had a lot of wins. But we have also seen heroes come out from Taimei. What do you say about heroes' place in this meta, Mystic?
You mean heroes?
Yeah, heroes with seal tombs. It was.
Well, I don't think it's the best option, but yeah, it works well for Infinite. But at least with all tests we did in Banana, the deck didn't perform that well. But yeah, it's still heroes. They still can sack you and win all the games.
Yeah, we can definitely agree on that, especially since yeah, in the first game it didn't open well, I'm assuming, but after the repeat it did manage to counter the deck it is supposed to counter and then win one more. I guess that would be what you want out of a hero deck. 10 and 7 for
Yes.
Infinity is certainly a good start considering their last season performance. So let's go on to the next match report.
Maybe mention quick that it was kind of close. Like YGL got one game loss and Melo timed out with Cyber Dragon having Lethal on board.
Yeah,
so
that is true.
I don't know. It could have like went into the other direction as well pretty early into the game. But yeah, two little oopsies happened, and there the end it was really close.
Definitely agreed. For those who didn't watch the game, the moment Melo timed out was when he fused with Cyberload fusion for game. He only had to resolve that fusion and then attack. That was very unfortunate. And
I don't know what happened with the Q win at the start. Maybe it's like a wrong or so.
It was not an incorrectly announced repeat. It was an incorrectly submitted deck. There.
I mean, it hurts, of course, but I don't know. It can happen here. So
Definitely.
Like-
It's their first season after all, and I'm not sure if they played Team Wars formats before in other leagues, perhaps. So, yeah.
Like you went in with Thunder Dragons by accident, or what you mean?
No, I'm not sure if.
I think it's...
Yeah, let's just call it. Yeah, the wrong build of Thunder Dragons. Okay, let's
that
move
does
on
not
to
clear that up. But okay, let's move on.
yeah, just that
No,
they played cards I didn't submit. Like just accidentally
Yeah.
the wrong backlist. Like nothing special.
Yeah, let's just say that nothing special.
There's nothing. There's no reason that we should suspect them of wrongdoing.
Definitely.
No, that's
I
not what I'm
generally
saying.
believe
That's like
it's
the-
just a mistake.
That's why I worded it like use the wrong deck list.
It really can happen at times, and fortunately, I'm sure you guys have didn't feel it on your own skin, especially you, Dragon, because it's your first season as well. Let's hope that does not happen. Always verify those deck lists, everyone.
Yep.
Okay, let's move on to the next one, which will be FHX versus Modern Empire. Two new teams. FHX being mainly Chinese based, from what I know, and Modern Empire being mainly from NA. So FHX, with a pretty surprising closer, I would say. If you were to not watch this match, it was only 6-5 up until Akura went in with his second deck, Cyber Dragons, and soon as that happened, the next three decks from their opponents, they could not play anything. It was only the very last duel in which Snack or Snock there. It's Snock. Okay.
Yeah, Snake is on a different.
Yeah, Snock there didn't manage to defy Akura. So another two new teams we have, and probably the same can be said what we have said earlier about either the top three most used decks and paired with a couple of unexpected counter decks. For example, we have seen Invoke Neos from the side of Modern Empire, as well as Black Wings. And from FHX, we didn't see all of them, but I guess you could say the least popular one would be Cyber Dragons there, which sadly at first didn't get a win, but it managed to close out the game. Any thoughts on this one, or can we move on perhaps?
I think we can move on.
Yeah.
All right then. I believe, yeah, this should be the last new teams match between Shadow Games Links, which was a highly anticipated team coming into Season 9. They also applied last season, I believe, but could not get in. But now they're back and sadly didn't end up with a win. Even though it was relatively one-sided from the starting from like the second half of the duel, Diadema there really just having a lot of impact with his water exceeds. But then Jumpy as well, the last player on the roster, came in and delivered just as hard of a blow to Uchihas. But in the end, it was still Water Exceeds to take the win for Uchihas. Water Exceeds is a relatively new deck, you could say. The reason for that being that it was mainly brought up in the Casey Cup, but we can already see that it arguably was the most popular deck to use even out of Thunder Dragons as well as Onomats. And we can only just see how many wins it really got in this match. Aside from Lunas and Fire Kings and one Thunder Dragon, it got all the rest of the wins.
Yeah, the last 11 all won by water.
Yeah, 11 out of 19. That's a really large number to think about it. But we can give the benefit of the doubt considering that both of those are new teams and probably their best phase within testing was to bring these water exceeds and get the wins. That should be it for the new teams. I just want to have two more matches to show, one of which was a really unexpected match, I would say, considering both the teams finished top 8 last season, between Clockline and Rookies. And Rookies just sent in Rookie with Star Seraph Dark Lords and Thunder Dragons and managed to win it all by himself. Have any of you watched this match?
I caught a little
watched
bit
I
of
watched
it.
parts of it, yeah.
It was
No,
was kind of interesting, especially if you saw what build he used. That he didn't
Yeah,
use like Charge of the Light Brigade and the Raiden Lights one package, but went for Gold Sark and he played the OG Thunder Dragon and he even played the trap card, the 100 Thunders.
Right.
I didn't see it live, but the match report was so intriguing that I went back and checked the VOD. It was kind of neat. But yeah, very interesting deck building choices.
Yeah, indeed.
And even if we look at the starter pair, we had like a mirror match in the very start. Both teams using Beatdown, Star Seraph, Dark Lords as their opener.
Hmm.
Yeah, that's not a matchup you see every day, especially post nerf.
Definitely not.
Yeah.
Like, it was so like the Thunder Dragon list was like we already can assume like he used a lot of he had like aloof loop plans, of course. Probably he took out the like twin engines just so he could have access to like hopefully like drawing more of like the back row removal. You know, because the Gold Sark version is actually pretty better against like Necro Valley style decks because like they can actually like just they can actually just Gold Sark for a lot of their combo pieces. Even though like they don't have to just go relying on a Levineer, even though it is a very good card.
Yeah.
Cough cough. So
Well, you have more level 5s to dupe into what's he called? Adrius that can
Adrius.
deal with Necro Valley.
yeah,
Yeah.
Aegis and also can just like deal with other problematic monsters that are on the field or just face-up cards in general.
Whatever Levy can't deal with, and just Aegis first, perhaps.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I think the other talking points from the side of Clockland would be the choice of Labbeard or Blue Eyes. Yeah, I guess you just shuffle your bricks away, but
Yeah,
it
he was
was
so sick
really.
of having Spirit in hand that he picked Land Builder as a skill.
It was interesting to note as well that obviously the reason he used was for level 6 synchros. One of them that I saw was Stardust Charge Warrior. Now,
Yeah, I saw that as well. Turned into the game. Saw Blue Eyes with Stardust Charge Warrior. Saw Paradox Brothers. I was like, okay, what the fuck is this? Then he lost the game. I was like, okay, looks like they're getting streaked. Then he repeated and even won with the Labyrinth Builder deck. So I was quite surprised by that.
I'm not sure which other level 6s he ran. Surely had to have run at least one more, not just the Charge Warrior, but I'm gonna have to check back on the VOD, which will soon be available on the Duel Links Teamworks channel. All right, and now with the last match report, we will be very brief about this one. We'll just highlight how insane Luna Lights can be against that top 3 decks right now. Something Lotso already had mentioned previously. Onomats, Water Exceeds, and Thunder Dragons. Yeah, if you start with the Saber Dancer, it's gonna be pretty hard for you to
The thing
combat
is,
that.
I saw this match report and I just can't understand why they didn't repeat Cyber Dragons.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
true. Yes,
I
we
agree.
saw the same.
Yeah, I
Like
agree.
they repeated Thunders, but they went in with Water instead of repeating Sidra. It's like that lost the war for me.
Yeah,
They
but
were
mainly
in
due
a good
to like
position as well.
yeah, it's like the first week of the season. Maybe people are not 100% sure yet what to use as a counter for specific matchups, or maybe not super meta relevant. Like Luna Light
Yeah.
was not really present before.
Yeah, definitely.
Indeed.
We can see that they had the upper hand before the Luna Lights, but after that, it just yeah. Okay, now that we're done with the match reports, we could look at the meta-analysis for this week, for this past week rather. As always, meta-analysis will be first-hand available on the Teamworks Talks show. We can see, for example, in there that the top 3 decks, as everyone expected, were Water Exceeds, Thunder Dragons, and Onomats. Water Exceeds with a pretty good win rate compared to the other 2, but we can also see a lot of other counter pick type decks doing their job, aside from Blue Eyes, which you can say that it had the factor of the
Having
Malefic.
bad builds.
Yeah,
The bad decks.
pretty much. In other words, pretty much, yeah. So let's take a
I
look
mean,
at.
you can especially see how good Luna Lights is performing. So like a relatively high win rate compared to the other decks.
Yeah,
big
exactly.
facts.
That's exactly what I wanted to mention going into the second picture. 71.4 win rate is insane, I would say. Especially considering it was look at its win percentage against the top 3 decks right now, and just tell me it wasn't the best counter pick use for this past week.
Oh, it's fantastic. Like
Yeah.
being able to just like have a consistent engine and then just like slap 6 to 8 hand traps and to trigger destiny draw is just like fantastic. And it's one of the few OTK decks that didn't have to play Cosmic Cyclones, MST. You can't play Hatronate because of the limitation to Fox, but like it was pretty decent.
Yeah.
But then again, we are in a very OTK style metagame, so as of right now, like things could change like as the weeks progress. But still, like Moonlights, like I feel like it's gonna be like one of those decks that are gonna be like in the first couple weeks. Same with Cyber Dragon is gonna be like very good.
Speaking of Cyber
Yeah.
Dragons being very good, Drizzles, can you tell us more maybe about the role with Cyber Dragons' win rate? You can see that obviously it was really good against Water Exceeds because it's one of the few decks right now that can afford to play a lot of back row. What about the others?
Yeah, I don't know. Like you have to keep in mind it's a very low sample size. For example, the Onomat matchup is looking really good there on paper in terms of percentages, but it's only based on like 7 games. And yeah, normally it's more going in the direction of a coin flip, whoever goes second or can just play around like 1 interruption. But yeah, the good matchups are definitely Water Exceed deck and then Lunalight, of course, even though here the numbers are speaking different words since there are a few misplays happen there against Lunalight. But yeah, what you mentioned earlier as well, decks like Cyber Dragon especially, always when it's like early into new meta after Banlist and after new boxes, they rise again and getting tiered again and getting more used. And I'm quite sure that in a few weeks, we're gonna see a lot less Cyber Dragons, a lot less Lunalights, stuff like that.
Yeah, something you mentioned about the numbers, that's something that everyone should not take for granted. What I want to highlight is that not every number speaks for itself. You should look beyond the number, maybe check the VOD, see what went wrong, what went right. Check once again the match report in case, for example, for Lunalights, there's a lot of stories that there that are not told just by the numbers. So that's just something to look out for out there.
Yeah, or if we're looking at like a deck with relatively low number of played games like Invoke Neos, the numbers are looking pretty decent, but they are almost half the wins are coming from one player and from one streak. And maybe if the opponent team played a bit better, that streak could have like ended a lot earlier, and then the numbers would show quite different.
Definitely. Okay. The meta-analysis will soon be available in the meta-analysis channel under the Team Wars Season 9 folder. If you want to see that, make sure to join the Discord, linked in the top, in the bottom right. Okay. Anything else that any of you would like to mention about this past week's meta-analysis? Okay.
I think what is maybe worth mentioning is that the overall win rate of their Onomad and Thunder Dragon is quite behind Water and quite behind some decks as well. Even though they were largely represented, they did not always like fulfill their jobs or so.
And even then, aside from Thunder Dragons' how do you say, matchup against the Cyber Dragons and the Invoke Neos, seriously, both archetypes perform the best against Blue Eyes, which overall doesn't say much, considering how week 1 was played.
Well, week 1 was just like it was like a jumbled mess. Like a lot of people didn't know what we were doing or what they were doing. Some people did, and like the people who know what they were doing, obviously showed that they when they won their match. So, but as the weeks go by, like a lot of these numbers are going to definitely change. And
Yeah.
like the deck that I'm really looking to see like what's gonna come after them is Dark Lords, because even before the Star Server engine, like they were actually like in the tournaments, like they were obviously making a comeback, but then like Star Servers being fairies, and obviously there's some synergies with Valhalla, and then See You Later was just really good. But we'll just have to wait and see, and see what the teams come up with moving forward.
I agree. And one quick shout out to Dave for subbing for the third month at tier 2, by the way, not tier 1. Very thank you, Dave, for that. And I guess we could move on perhaps to the power rankings for this week, since we concluded the match reports. Let's get on to that. Okay, so Rookie, obviously 10-1 has to be first. Then on the second place we have Terrific with his 7-2, and then Sachi with his Luna Lights Closer in 6-0. This is mostly just to show, not entirely discuss. Just see who performed the best for this past week. Let me check something actually. I believe, yeah, every single player that that is on the power ranking has had his team winning. So easy check things. We'll talk about that in a bit. Okay. But for now, we can have a look at the schedule for the next week. Let me start here. Can you guys see it? I didn't link it to you, but it should be in league schedule. Check week 2, please.
Yes. There.
Okay, so for the first
Okay.
division, we have Switcheroo versus YGO Game Life as the first game. Switcheroo from again, they won last season, but they have had a pretty rough start with their 4-10 loss against Pharaohs. YGO Game Life as well, not off to a good start. However, what can you really expect out of a match like this?
Well, like I said before, like a lot of the metagame is still like it's defined, but it's undefined. It's defined mostly by the OTK style decks, but it's also undefined by like the fact of there's a lot of unknowns, especially with like the new box just dropped, Banlist being implemented, and then like a lot of the skill changes as well. Finding the right balance of like trying to deal with like OTK style decks, but while still retaining some consistency within your decks are going to be playing a huge factor for a lot of these games, and also a lot of the skillful players and a little bit of luck also doesn't hurt as well.
So I guess most of you would predict or would be predicting Switcheroo as a winner in that matchup.
If they get their stuff together, yes, but as we saw in the first match, they did a lot of mistakes against Pharaohs.
Yeah, and well, YGO also, like, I mean, if they didn't get the DQ loss and the time limit loss, they might win that game, so I wouldn't rule them out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Surely. Okay. In the next match within the first division would be Forbidden Memories versus Infinity, both having won their week 1 game. What about this one?
For me, it's Forbidden Memories. Like,
Yeah. It's
always...
my opinion is still interesting match since Forbidden Memories had a lot of chance during the off season, and Infinity 2 as the returning team, and in the past season they did really bad, but now they start with a win. So in my opinion, it looks like an interesting match, even though I think it's favorable to Forbidden Members.
I
Mhm.
mean,
I think
Infinity
we,
already matched their wins from last season, so it can only go up for them. So
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
fine.
And I think we are all waiting for Max K playing the first game
Yeah.
for
Sure.
Forbidden
Yeah.
Memories. I
Make it
mean,
happen,
the god
guys.
is on a break on Team for like 2 seasons now, so yeah, I'm expecting a big return.
Mm.
Watch him go.
Make sure that happens, Harmigon. The next one is going to be Smogon Duel Links versus Abusement Park. Lotso, I believe you did face them last season in week 8, which was
Yes.
towards the peak of, or not really the peak, but towards the end of the peak of Karakuri meta.
Yeah, I'm still mad about that one.
I didn't
I
want to
feel
bring
you.
it up.
You're not the only team who got
let's
streaked
just
by
not talk
Smogon.
about that game. We just want to beat
Yeah.
them now in a
Yeah.
non-character.
Definitely.
That's it. That's
Earlier,
done talking.
I
So,
believe in amusement park.
so in other
Like,
words,
wanna see them-
you're gonna show it back to them, right?
Yeah, well, we want to beat them, yeah? They don't have Karakuri this time, so.
All right then.
But yeah, they're a good team. It's always a tough match against them.
Yeah, I
But
definitely
yeah,
agree.
we'll see.
Okay. So for the last match of the first division would be Pharaohs versus Rafflesia ID. Rafflesia not off to a good start. Pharaohs with a pretty decisive win against the Team Wars champions of the last season. So yeah, probably Pharaohs most favorable there. Still wouldn't count Rafflesia
Hello?
totally out. Yeah, Jack? Anything you want to say about that specific match, or?
I'm sorry, what? You like went out. At least for me.
Oh, no worries. We're just discussing the Pharaohs and Rafflesia ID. Not much to discuss there. Probably.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
So starting
Pharaohs,
with the second division, BZ versus SGL. I think this is a game really worth watching. BZ,
yeah,
as we all know, very consistent, highly performing team, and SGL being arguably the most hyped new team. So it's curious to see what SGL can bring up against BZ.
yeah. This game is really good to watch.
My money's on BZ, honestly.
Mm-hmm. It could appear like that.
Like I have respect for both teams, so but if I were to give this week to either one, honestly, it would probably be a close game, a close match, but it would probably be BZ for me.
I'm definitely expecting a close match as well. Okay.
Yes.
Garuda and Uchiha's next. Even though I referee their games, I'm still unsure on what Uchiha's peak actually would be. As we saw, they did win against SGL, and Garuda is a team, I would say, around the same mark as Smogon, in the sense that they have always been right in between the line of making playoffs and not making playoffs. But their consistency is what really matters there. What would you say about this match, guys?
Yeah, as you said, Garuda usually is a constant team. Sometimes makes and sometimes not. But I still think they are favorite against Uchiha's. Even though Uchiha's won a really hard match against SGL. But from past results and what I know, I would bet on Garuda.
Yeah, I agree with that. Garuda should favor.
Yeah, Garuda could bounce back after their loss against Phoenix from last week. Speaking of
Yeah.
Phoenix, we we'll have Phoenix going up against Sky Parameters, a Bird against. Are those Lances? Yeah, I guess they are Lances. Sky Parameters. Hopefully the Lances won't be inserted into the Phoenix, and hopefully the Phoenix will just reborn back. Phoenix off to a pretty good start, going up against Garuda. Sky Parameters not, due to the Duel Links Taiwan closing, I would say, which was a bit off from them. But what do we expect here?
I would say as well that Phoenix is kind of favorited here. They started pretty well, made playoffs last season, and Sky Parameters is more of a rebranding of Accenters, coming off like not a great season from last time. So there, I expect a pretty one-sided match.
Yeah, totally agree.
All right then. Mystic, your match against Duel Links Taiwan. At first, what are your thoughts against this?
For us, Duel Links Taiwan is also a good and really hard opponent, so it will be really a really nice match, and hopefully we can win. But yeah, definitely not easy. They are really good. They have really good players in their roster, and yeah, we will do our best to prepare and win this match.
I would say the match could. I'm not sure what to expect from either teams. Both teams with a really good win against decent, or in your case, a really good opponent in BZ.
Yeah.
So yeah. The next one, BNP versus FHX. So FHX was up to a pretty good start with a 10-5 against Modern Empire, but that is another new team. What do you say about this one? I think Bricks and Potatoes is favored there.
Yeah, bricks and potatoes. Like
Should
they
be
like
as long as they are not sticking with Thunder Dragons again. What made them lost the last two matches? But yeah, I expect them to come back strong. And yeah, even though FHX won the first game against Modern Empire, I think they're like experienced to beat one of those teams at this moment yet.
Yeah. I'm on the same page. And speaking of experience, we also have Sunclan, which is another Teamworks champion, just like Bricks and Potatoes, going up against another new team, which is Modern Empire. I think the same words can be said for this one as well. Sunclan to be expected to win. Okay, in that case, we can go up to, I would say, another really anticipated match in Diffusion and Lost Tribe.
I think that's gonna be pretty interesting and a pretty close one. Diffusion starting with a loss against Sunclan, and Lost Tribe starting with a really good victory in their first week
against Divine.
So yeah, it's definitely not as one-sided as it might sound. And I know that know each other really well. A lot of former Diffusion members are on Lost Tribe. Lost Tribe now with Taha as the coach. So yeah, I expect a really intense match here.
Definitely.
Yeah, Taha's a homie, but I mean, I'm sure he'll prepare well, and at the very least, it'll be a close game.
Definitely. Hopefully, it gets scheduled on a pretty good time so that it ends up on the main channel. As we all know already, MCS has been scheduled for Saturday, so expect a lot of the usual Sunday 9 a.m. EST matches. Speaking of Sunday, we have SEM. Oh, we have a raid from Sean Matry, 50 viewers. Thank you so much, Sean, for the raid. And if anyone is new that doesn't know about the Teamworks Talks show, it's a weekly show in which one host gathers a couple of guests, usually from the winning teams of the previous week, and we take a look at the match reports from the past week and a look at the predictions of week 2 and just discuss. Okay, so back to the schedule. We have SEM and Divine. I think this is another match that I don't know what exactly to expect, honestly.
Yeah, to the same.
I think SEM is coming pretty strong of their first week, winning against Bricks and Potatoes. Divine lost like by a lot against Lost Tribe. So just speaking from the numbers, I would expect a pretty big win from SEM. Both teams made playoffs in the past, both missed playoffs quite a few times as well. So always a bit of a gamble, but yeah, I expect quite dominance of SEM here.
Mm-hmm. I can see that, yeah. Okay, next one we have Tier 0 against XO. So what do you say about that one, Neg? XO being a pretty good performing team in other leagues, but so far not having the best start in Team Wars.
I mean, I feel weird like discussing my games because it's what am I supposed to say other than yeah, we want to win?
Yeah, obviously. But what would you say about your opponent? Have you taken a look at X0 personally or as a team?
I think members of my team have like looked at just who's on their roster. I'm not entirely sure. I know that it's like I guess it has mostly like regular Duel Links players, but also has a few TCG people. But that's really the extent of my knowledge.
Yeah, they mostly came in as a bunch of TCG players. Some of them pretty accomplished as well. But yeah, not sure what to expect of them. But I think Tier 0 should be taking this one. Okay, we will have Rookies and Fallen Angels next. So Dragon, your first thoughts after seeing that you're up against Rookies now. Rookies having finished, I believe, number 1 in all team division standings.
Yeah, so my initial thoughts were just like, oh boy, it's gonna be either an early morning match or a late night match for me. So,
Definitely.
honest as at this point now, I'm just gonna like take one match at a time and one game at a time. Like, of course, like Negative1 said, like there's not really much I can elaborate on. Just saying like, yeah, my team wants to win. Like, we are one of the newer, like we are a new team. Like, we have something to prove to everybody in the community of Team Wars. So we're just gonna go out there, do our best, and we're gonna try and pull out a victory. Like, there's not much else I can really say about it.
Definitely. You're coming here with something to prove, and I don't think there's anything better to prove than beating Rookies, perhaps.
Yeah, of course we want to take that number 1 spot from them since we're number 1 and 2 in our division.
Yeah.
So,
and speaking of divisions, we'll take a small look at that in a bit. But first, we have to finish with the last two. One of them, which will be Clockland and X Factors. After Clockland's performance last week, I'm not sure what to really expect of them. Do you guys agree?
Lab Builder Blue Eyes against Light Barrier Blue Eyes. Who comes out on top?
Pretty much.
I think Clockland is gonna try their best to make that war for Forgotten, especially since same 1 and 10 happened in the playoffs of the last season. So yeah, the last 2 games they played in Team Wars were like really bad, and I'm quite sure they're gonna work really hard to overcome that bad statistic. And their X Factors didn't started great either. Was using here multiple decks of the Malefic Blue Eyes, so there. I think it's going to be really interesting. 2 Asian teams who have a bit of a different understanding of the meta game, what we normally have here in Europe or America. So yeah, going to be pretty interesting.
Yeah, definitely. I want to put that on a main channel if we get a good hour. Considering they're both from Asia, they could perhaps play at something like a 5 a.m. EST, which would be a good time for the EU and Asian audiences. But yeah, big sleep for NA there. And the last one we have is, last but not least, Toon Squad against Sensei. Sensei off to a good start. Toon Squad, they were paired against Tier 0, but I'm not sure what to expect of this one, personally speaking.
I mean,
I think
Toon
Sensei
Squad
seems
got,
pretty good. The team.
even though Toon Squad got like the experience of the last season, Sensei did pretty well. Squad did quite a lot of mistakes in the first week, so I would, favor Sensei.
Yeah, I can see that. Okay then, that could be it for the schedule. Let me just bring in the division, just for anyone that didn't see how the last week matches went. So I'll just count down the rankings. So Abusement Park first, Pharaohs second, Forbidden Memories third, and Infinity fourth for the winners. SDL, YGL, Rafflesia, and Switcheroo being in the 5th to 8th place. In the Dragon Ravine division as well. Aroma Garden division comes up next with FHX, Lost Tribe, STM, and Sunclimb being the winners, and BNP, Diffusion, Divine, and Modern Empire being the 5th to 8th place. In the Dreamland division, we do have Banana Rampage sitting at the top with Duel Links Taiwan, Phoenix, and Uchihas following. SGL, Garuda, Sky Parameters, and BZ are on the last 4 places. Last but not least, we have the Toon Kingdom division, dominated by rookies, with Fallen Angels, Tier 0, Sensei soon to come, X Factors, Toon Squad, X0, and Claw Clan following afterwards. Okay, so we are pretty much done with the Team Wars related discussion. We could go on about the ban list that was released and applied in week 1 already. Maybe I think the best question would be, did you have any surprises after seeing the whole week 1 take its run? Maybe we can start with Drizzles, considering that you're not on a team and perhaps you had more time to watch matches.
I think in terms of speaking, what decks teams maybe expect, Lunar Light was a big surprise, since it had a good counter matchups against like Water and Onomat, and a lot of teams were not prepared for fighting against Lunar Lights, and therefore multiple streaks with like 3 or 4 wins in a row happened. And yeah, I think that's mainly due to the meta change after the ban list.
Yeah, that's a pretty good talking point.
Yeah, so because of like the I want to say like the demise of Noble Knights, but like their consistency got really destroyed with balance being nerfed. So it was just like the matter of like all these decks that are generally like mass destruction style decks, so that are usually used to doing stuff like that. So like Cyber Dragons definitely made a comeback. Fire Kings, like, yeah, they were always around, but like being able to not have to worry about like a huge Noble Knight Exceed monster being backed up by like the equip spell that makes the monster can't be destroyed by card effects for once per turn. Like it was very applicable that was going to happen. Like certain decks are making comebacks, Tramids, Moonlights. So like honestly, like with Noble Knights going away for right now, because like I feel like they will come back at some point. Just like we don't know how. A lot of decks were like, okay, we're moving back in. So which is gonna make this season a lot more interesting in terms of like what deck combinations, what decks are going to be used for counter picks, what decks are going to be leading off. So like, there's a lot of factors that are going to be leading into certain decks that are going to be played more than others.
Yeah, I definitely agree. You did say that this banlist did bring a couple decks back, such as Triamids, such as Fire Kings, who were always around but never had the push they needed as far as at least counterpick potential is concerned. There was always, or not necessarily always, but most of the time, there was always a better choice. But now they did cement a place within the meta analysis at least. And you did mention about Noble Knights. Maybe at first we all counted them out, but was there anyone in here perhaps that has had this thought in the back of their mind that they could be coming back and actually perform well?
They didn't got played at all, or in the first weekend
They
team
did.
was?
They did not. I believe exactly 0 Noble Knight decks were being played. But what I do want to mention is that in a couple other tournaments, perhaps not only did they top, but they also have won. Have you thought about this possibility, considering the nerf of balance?
Like
I
Destiny
don't.
Draw and Equipment Exchange are two pretty decent skills for the deck. Um so I don't know. Well, like I said, we'll have to see what the future entails for Noble Knights.
No, I don't think they're really based on their skill anymore. It's just if you go first and you open the combo, it's like as strong as before. And if you go second and you have like a Book of Moon to play around one interruption and you have your combo, you're still winning. But yeah, with the balance nerf now, instead of bricking like on one Gwen, you can brick on like either 4 monsters or 4 equipped spells, what can make your life like a lot harder.
Mm-hmm.
Or you can just open like you can open all engine cards, and then if unless you have a Merlin, it can be somewhat underwhelming sometimes. Just like it makes the turn one combo less impactful when you don't have any tech cards or like an interruption. Just the Madrot into a full board. It does get you a lot of advantage, but it loses some of the impact of having like either a Merlin tag or a trap effect.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. Considering that now you're opting to play around, I don't know, 22 to 24, 26 cards, something like that. Obviously, not the big ratio of balance that we've seen before. Okay. What else was a surprise, or would that be it? As far as the ban list is concerned, or the ban list affected decks.
Can we all just agree that thank good riddance for the demise of Desperado? Well, Master of Destiny.
Yes.
Yeah. Can we all just like take a moment and take a moment of silence, please?
We should be cheering. Like, there's a moment of
Yeah.
silence for that. Then.
Finally,
There.
everyone.
Okay, I tried.
No more double cup of ace openings. Hopefully,
Yeah,
no
judging.
more game stealing by head judging.
Yeah.
I mean, the
more
problem is still
guarantees.
there. Like I saw
Oh.
some Japanese tournaments where you had like a few water exceed decks play double head
Yeah.
judging in like the main or in the
Yeah.
side deck because it's still semi limit. So if you're really desperate, you still kind of use it.
You feeling frisky enough? Yeah. Well, I tried.
It's curious how Desperado came back right before Invoked Crusaders was banned. Now it got banned. Well, then it got banned, and then it came back. But now, thankfully, it's probably dead and there to stay in the graveyard.
Desperado, the monster itself is still relevant. Like it's one of those cards. Like, it's
It's really good on paper and by itself.
It's still pretty decent because like even like a while back, before Invoked, like we were still and before Masters of Destiny, like we were still playing like Cyber Dark Desperado, like so it's nothing too extravagant about it.
I definitely agree. Yeah, I guess I don't think there's many other surprises considering how little in terms of cards that were actually hit, I don't think anyone would really expect, for example, Amazonas being really relevant. I tried to look over on some of their matchups and I couldn't find much more, considering they're really just battle focused and it's not something that will win you on a consistent basis.
I think in Team Wars format they'll have some play as like counter pick. But yeah, we can't like as long as we don't have unlimited rooms or until they actually apply to change, we won't know.
About that, we will see something soon for the unlimited rooms. But anyway, I'm not sure if Rose Lover as well will do any good, considering what grows in the graveyard was also hit. I don't think anyone really expected Rikas to be any good. I do know a couple of top players from within the community tried to like climb out of Platinum with Rikas and they just couldn't. So
Yeah.
Hmm.
Indeed.
not much to expect from them.
I feel bad for Sakura because I saw him testing out and like he was posting like testing videos on his Twitter. I felt bad for him. And he was like, "Well," like the first thing that he posted after the ban, he was like, "Well, this deck is this is trash now." So
yeah,
I was like,
pretty
oof.
much.
I was like, "Oof, man, that's no bueno right there."
Yeah. Well, we can now stop talking about the negatives or perhaps the positives, depending on which side of the coin you look at in regards to the ban list. And we can finally take a look at the last topic of discussion for this Team Wars Talks. As far as the box release is concerned, I'm pretty sure most of the community, at least, not maybe not just you personally speaking, most of us probably just declare this box to be a skip, even though clearly they have advertised the box with the chase card being Mystical Space Typhoon MST. We probably did underrate TG, perhaps. Anyone that would like to start the discussion on TGs?
I have a reason to play my 3 Misc and my Prismatic Fossil deck now. So I'm like, but like the deck is like I've seen a lot of it, like from like streamers and Shiny. We got a second place finish with the deck yesterday at Duel Links Entertainment tournament. So I was like, oh, okay, that's pretty cute. But then like a lot of people are just like, then I saw like a few videos on Twitter. I'm like, oh, okay, a Black Rose Dragon on your opponent's turn into a level 12 Blackwing monster. Okay, this is pretty decent. So
yeah,
like the deck is still new. Like it's like still in its infancy. So like I'm not really like in a position to just like say, oh, this deck is gonna be the next tier 1 sauce that everybody needs to pick up because like it's a very expensive deck and not everybody can like like in terms of like Team Wars I'm sure everybody has this deck, but like in terms of like just like the average Duel Links player, like I don't think like not many of them are gonna just like casually just pick up the deck because it's the new hotness, you know.
yeah. You do make a good point about it being relatively expensive. Water Exceeds has had that problem as well. I think it mostly boils down to how important Book of Moon turned out to be, even though it was initially like, well, this selection box has pretty much nothing aside from Book of Moon. And yeah, that Book of Moon really made a difference considering it's pretty much a 2 of or a 3 of in any single deck from the top tier decks currently. And TGs are no stranger to also playing the Book of Moon.
No, definitely not. Like it's already like if you have 3 of them, you just slap 3 of those Pokemons in the deck with 2 to 3 lances as well to help protection or against like negate like its effect negations from Photon Bouncer or like Karma Cut with Lancia. So but like I said, like only time will tell. Like it's a deck that has a very high ceiling, but also and has a very low floor. So I think that's the same. But
Mhm.
honestly, like I said, like only time will tell with the deck. Like it's still just like it's still relatively new, so like we'll see what happens with it.
Yeah, I agree. I'm really excited to see it from a personal perspective in Team Wars this week.
Same.
But aside,
That could sweep though.
yeah, you do make a good point. Actually, it is pretty weak unless it starts with a lance, perhaps. Due to the sole fact that Black Rose can miss timing. Just you go
Exactly.
first. You have your 3 synchro monsters on the field, and first thing your opponent does is Buko Moon. What do? You have to have the lance. Whether you are either on
Or
the
draw
3
phase Book of Moon.
synchros, sorry.
Just draw phase Book of Moon because the deck doesn't work in. It's like boneless Crystons. It doesn't work in draw phase or standby. So you just activate early, and then they can't do anything.
Yeah.
Neg1, we're trying to sell this deck to the plebes. To the plebs.
It's funny because Crystons would usually be considered the boneless TG, at least in the TCG, considering that Crystons weren't really the best thing to come. At least in Duel Links, they did made their mark, and for a long time. And I'm curious to see if TGs can hold up to that high standard that we held Crystons at. But aside from like TGs and MST, I think we can all agree that MST can just be a card we can run in limited to 3 decks, pretty much. Fire Teams, Invoke Neos.
Yes.
I think if I still say Cosmic Cyclone is just like strictly better than that, just because of
I agree.
It's not just because like paying 1,000 like points can be a cost, but like when you're winning that turn, like it doesn't really matter. Like
Yeah,
MST is great, but like it suffers from one weakness. It doesn't banish; it just destroys.
Yeah,
So,
but
like,
it's also a strong point with tons of decks running TTH though. Like you can kill a Tretch by hitting the other trap, which is nice.
no, yeah, but we don't. But like a lot of decks these days all have semi-limited cards, so
yeah.
so like, and a lot of those decks are using the semi-limited cards as their engine pieces.
I think it's mainly about what decks play, and if you have like a limit 3 card. So decks like Invoke Neos or Fire Kings who are playing like Alistair Engine or here the Veil card. Those are decks who gonna use MST. And I already saw today Grucius getting top 4 in a Japanese tournament using 2 copies of MST in the Invoke Neos deck.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so it is a side grade, you would say, in decks that are not limited mechanically by any limited to 3 ways, because they're disabled from running the Cosmic Cyclone. But in other cases, like even currently in the top tier decks, you rarely even see Cosmic Cyclone. So yeah.
Yeah.
Aside from TGs and MST, I don't think there's anything left to discuss
yeah,
from the new box.
Maybe the Fairy Knight Ryuka, or how's it called, where you can return the whole opponent
The card's crazy.
Yeah.
Best 3 level 6s to just get interrupted.
That's the other side of the story.
Yeah.
That's a pessimistic way to look at it.
No, but
It's a realistic way.
It can get played in decks like Onomat, for example, if you have like a Lunar Light matchup.
Mhm.
and there are like a lot of big monsters on the field you never can out. That's a card where you can out like a possible Saber Dancer.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's still it feels like to me it feels gimmicky because like it takes 3 level 6s, so like you have to like make that initial investment plus your level duplication. Now I'm just like, that seems like a lot.
Yeah.
That's a lot of resource that to commit to one monster, and it's like Book of Moon or Karma Cut as soon as on summon. It's just like, well, that was just a waste.
Does feel like that. Yeah. Main phase effect
Like,
ignition.
like I
Look
did,
like-
like Dish from Divine did play it in his Thunder Dragon list, but I'm like, but well, we already saw like what happened with Divine this last week.
Yeah, that was
The issue with it is
unfortunate.
that it's like ignition effect, yes, and 3 materials. So you think, when is this going to come up in like 90% of your games? Only when your opponent has multiple monsters on board and they have no like interruption against you, which is very rare. And essentially, like, it comes up, yeah, against like Lunalights, for instance. But what other deck is summoning like bodies that you can't deal with that don't interrupt you?
When you're staring down
Maybe
like,
Blue Eyes, like,
Some
sure,
Blue
it
Eyes
might be
boards.
there.
yeah, like,
Yeah.
when you're staring down like
Just-
an Azure Eyes backed up with like a bunch of other 3K beaters and then like 2 back row, you're just like, well, this sucks.
Or
it's
when you
just
play like
even
maybe
one
a Thunder
back row.
Dragon, or maybe a Thunder Dragon mirror match when you're out of Levianeers.
You know, like if you're going through all your 11 years, then you obviously already lost.
Well,
Honestly,
if you've already gone through your 11 years, you probably used your skill as well. So
yeah.
Or they
It's
probably
like-
just all got mailed by charge.
maybe.
No, you're
It's-
going M7 them back anyway at that point.
Yeah.
So you
I
M7 or
mean,
duo them back, so you'll be
every
fine.
card has a use. I just like this
It-
one. You're better
like-
off running Swordbreaker. Like,
Oh yeah, most
Pretty
definitely.
much. There's the story with this card is pretty much that you should probably just run one main deck card that can deal with what the rank 6 can deal with, and not have to use 3 materials and be very prone to disruption.
I'd rather play a short Hurricane at that if I want to play something like that.
Mm-hmm.
But that's another niche card that only works in certain situations.
Yeah. I mean, I suppose this should be it for this week's Team Wars talks. Thank you to everyone, Mystic, Lotso, Dragoon, Drizzles, and Neg1 for coming in as the guests for this week. You can check out our media in the bottom right, the Twitter, the Discord, the Twitch, and the YouTube.
YouTube.
Will be in the chat right now. You can also do !YouTube. For now, it does not have any videos, but it will
Yet.
pretty soon have every single season 7 match, every single season 8 match, as well as the Team War stocks from the past season, every All-Star match, and additional content exclusive on YouTube in regards to highlights. So make sure to subscribe when that comes out. Any
there
shoutouts
like
from anyone?
there a
Sorry.
time frame for that? Like,
Wait, can you mention
is
it
it
again?
just soon TM? Is there a time frame when the videos are coming, or is it just soon TM?
I am currently done with like 80%, so that would be like close to 270 videos, I would say. Uploaded over the past 2 or 3 weeks. I think 1 week would be the answer to your question. 1 week or so to at least have the first season out. I think the biggest challenge would be changing all the descriptions, because I want to include timestamps to every single duel. So That would take a while.
All right, all right.
That's ambitious.
It's nothing too huge for me, considering that I did manage to save every single VOD from season 7, season 8, and have them archived on the Twitch channel. Up until then, the season 9 week 1 VODs will be available soon tonight or very early tomorrow on the Twitch channel as well. In case anyone wants to watch the week 1 games, either for entertainment or to study the opponents. But yeah, any closing thoughts from anyone? We could start from top to bottom on the Discord order. So from Lotso, maybe. Any shout out, any closing thoughts?
Not really. I'm looking forward to week 2. There's a lot of interesting games.
Definitely. What about you, Dragoon?
Same. Like, I'm really looking forward to seeing how this week is going to play out, especially again for my team. Like, but I will definitely be keeping a close eye again for all the other teams on my division. So, hi, Neg1. I didn't forget about the last MCS, by the way.
Well, that's a grudge match for another day, I suppose. What about you, Drizzles?
Yeah, 2 shoutouts. The first is going to Yasser, who is hopefully not ditching again and is finally playing for SunClan in Team Wars, since he pussied out in the last match against the Fusion and decided to go for a walk instead of playing for his team. And the second shoutout is going to all the Cyber Dragon players who hopefully don't misplay again this weekend. Otherwise, I'm gonna be really, really sad.
You heard that, boys and Dragoon.
I'm play testing them right now.
What about you, Negwan?
Not much. Just shout out to the team, except Chris. Yeah.
You make it sound like it's a bad thing.
I mean, he went positive for the first time in like 2 years or so.
Yeah, it was really neat. We were very happy for him, and hope he can do it once again. Sometime this season.
Definitely. And last but not least, Mystic.
Just a shout out to all my teammates and for those who cheer for us week 1.
Mm-hmm. Sounds good then. Make sure to tune in to the week 2 matches. If you weren't aware, we have put channel points prediction for every main channel game. So make sure to perhaps take a risk, and in the end, if it pays off, if you gather 100,000 gems, you can get a free subscription. So to Team Wars. So yeah, I think that should be it. Thank you, and see you next week. Goodbye.
See ya.